Hi friends, Mindy here. Welcome back to part 2 in this start to finish series using the coffee shop paper collection from Carta Bella. Today I'm going to be starting to work on adding a few little pockets, and so I have pulled out a few things to start with. I have the 6x6 paper pack and I have the ephemera and frames here. I will go through and show you those in a minute. I also have some cut aparts that I think are going to actually make really great tuck spots. And I have some 6x6 paper that has been in my stash as well. That's just coffee themed, and I think it's going to go well with this. So first off, I'm just going to pull out the ephemera pieces and the frames and the tags. I'll just kind of go through here and you can kind of see what's in this collection. These are the things that I will be using for decorating the pockets, the pages, the tags, journaling cards, all of the things that are going to go into this journal. I still have not decided yet if I want to add in some of my vintage papers for my shop. I really love using vintage book paper, and I tried to make this journal without it, but I just feel like it's missing something. So let me know what you guys think. Would it be okay to go ahead and add in some different kind of, vintage paper? Or should I keep this one just like purely the collection? In some ways, it's kind of a challenge to do that, but I haven't quite decided. So there may be some book paper and some vintage papers popping up in here, but we'll just have to wait and see. I will also link the first video in this series, as well as the links for my website, which is called chosencrafting.com, and my Facebook group. I'd love to have you join me over there, and all those links will be down in the description. So the first thing I'm going to do here is start with this cut apart sheet that has these kind of larger squares, because they're of the size of these are actually going to make some really good tuck spots. And so I'm just going to cut these apart, and I'm going to pull out a couple and just decide which ones I want to use in this journal. It would be very easy to use all of them because they're so cute and the sayings are so funny. But I don't want to have just all of one kind of pocket in here. And so one of the things that I am going to do is try to have a variety. And I like to kind of have, if I'm going to have something sort of at the front of one part of the signature, then I want it to sort of balance in the back part of the signature. So that's what you'll see me doing today, and kind of a lot of back and forth. So these two pieces are going to actually turn into tuck spots, and I'm just trying to find a good place for them. And I thought I would just keep this video where I'm not doing as many pockets and things in here, but just kind of walking you through my thought process for how I do this, because these are questions that I get asked quite a bit about how I do my pockets or decorating creating clusters and that kind of stuff. So I thought maybe I could take some time and answer those questions. So this first one, you can see, because I'm going to be gluing it on this side, I trimmed the left spot just to to show that it's a tuck spot, and I'm going to only glue this on two sides, so it'll be the bottom and the right side. And the reason that I chose this particular paper to adhere it to is because it's very busy. So if you were to write in this journal, there would be really no way for you to write over that background, and so having a pocket over the top of it allows you to put a journaling card or a tag in there, and then that still is usable writing space, even though the background paper is quite busy. And so I am also using the smaller papers that I have in here, the ones that are just cut down a little bit, since these pockets are a little bit smaller as well. And so again, here's another situation where it's beautiful background paper, and I love the background paper, but it can kind of, be difficult to use if you don't have a pocket or some way of adding something to it that you can add a journaling spot or journaling card or a tag or something like that. So you'll see me throughout this process kind of flipping back and forth, trying to decide where I want things and how I want them. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull out some of these other coffee themed papers that I have. I got these at a like a scrapbooking convention, and they're so cute, and I love these ones that have the little coffee beans on them. And so I'm just going to trim them down. These are 6x6, and so I'm going to trim them down to 5x3 basically, so that I can put a nice large tag or journaling card in here. And I'm actually going to take this page and another page from this paper pack, and I'm going to cut them up the same. I don't want to have this, I want to have the same style of pocket, but I don't necessarily want it to be exactly the same. So I want to use the two different patterns. So I'm going to do kind of the same thing with this other page that's got these coffee cups on it, just trimming it down to 5 inches and then cutting it down the center at 3. And these will be some top loading pockets, but they're, you know, my journal is basically 8.5 inches tall. So this will give a lot of space, and you could even double these up if you wanted some like more shallow pockets, which I may do on another page. So you have a couple of pockets on a page and just some shorter tags. That might be a fun idea now that I'm thinking of it while I'm on camera. But anyway, for now, I'm just going to add these, but I want to also decorate them. Sometimes I add all the pockets in and then I come back and decorate them. Sometimes I decorate the pockets before I add them in. It just depends on how I'm kind of feeling. So today I'm actually going to, I have these 2 pockets. I know I want them to go on these pages, and I'm going to go ahead and decorate them. So I am using some archival ink in ground espresso just to add a little bit of distressing to the pockets in all of the pieces that I am using. And I'm just trying to decide which of these pieces of ephemera from the kit that I want to use to decorate this. So you'll see me just kind of flip through a few things, and there's no real rhyme or reason. I can tell you, I definitely want something that's, you know, horizontal, because this is a horizontal pocket. I want something that's pretty large because I want it to cover up a good bit of the background. I don't, so that it's the more focal image. And I don't always put things right in the center. If I'm going to do it, it's going to have to be something that's really nice and large and kind of going to command your attention. And so I'm really going through here. I did pick out a couple other sentiments and things that I liked, but they weren't the right size. And so I found this one that I really liked. And but when I put it on the pocket, it just kind of, even though the background is brown and white, it just feels like it's kind of getting lost. You can see I am distressing this just a little bit too. And so I feel like I need something kind of back behind that sentiment and, you know, in between the pocket, just to kind of anchor that, so it's not just like floating along on there. And so what I'm actually going to do is pull out some of the paper strips. This is from when I created the journal, and find one that will kind of tie all of these things together. So I have the green, that's the green stripe of the paper. I have the green in the pocket, and then I have some green and pink and different colors in that label on there. And so I'm trying to find something that will coordinate well with all of those colors. And I feel like this background, this pink background paper, is going to be perfect. There is a design on it, but it's very faint and it's small. It's like a smaller scale, so it helps kind of just balance everything out. So I have the big, you know, wide stripes, I have the busy coffee cups, and then I have this sort of pink to kind of just break everything up. So I am going to go ahead and also distress all of that, and then I'm going to just glue this, and then I will trim off the excess. I'm going to kind of put this in the bottom third of the pocket. That's just sort of personal preference. You could put it in the middle if you wanted to. It would look cute that way too, but I just kind of like it down at the bottom, kind of anchoring everything. And then I'm going to just add some adhesive on this piece, and then I'll glue that just right smack dab in the middle. And like I said, I would only do this really with something that was, you know, very large. Otherwise, I would kind of create a cluster off to one side. But because this is, you know, a bold piece and a sentiment that's like just right in the middle, I think that it works okay for this particular pocket. And then I'm going to glue this down directly on near the bottom of the page. I'm not making it flush with the bottom because I want to be able to see that striped paper down underneath there as well. And I will kind of do that with all of the pockets. You'll see the edge of each of the pages as well. And now I'm just trying to decide where I want this other pocket, but because that pocket was at the back part of the signature, I want to add this one to the front part of the signature. And it's all about kind of creating different contrast. So again, I have this white page that's very busy, but it's very white. So having this brown page actually kind of tones that down just a little bit and just brings a little bit of neutral place for your eye to kind of rest on here. But again, this is where I want to pull in some of those things that are in the background paper and get them so that it looks like this other paper that I'm creating, the pocket, like they were meant to be together, if that makes sense. So I am going through the 6x6 paper pack right now to find a sentiment that I think will go well on this pocket, because again, I need something that is horizontal. And originally I thought I was going to use that part that says coffee will be there for you. And then, because it's hilarious, but I found from the larger 12 by 12 paper pack a little sentiment that I'm going to use instead. I'm just trimming that out, and it's actually a bigger square, and I'm going to end up trimming it down. I'm sorry, I am totally off camera right now. I have it close to me so I can trim it. So you can see originally it's got kind of this bigger green border. I'm just going to go in here and trim that down a little bit more. I wanted the green there, but I just didn't want that much of it, if that makes sense. So you can see me trimming. So sorry to be off camera there. And then I'm going to have this same situation with this pocket where I feel like it needs something to sort of anchor this sentiment piece to the pocket and also tie in the sentiment piece with the pocket with the background paper. So I have actually pulled out the cardstock stickers. This was a 12 by 12 sheet that came with the paper collection, and there's the pattern paper that has the same colors as the background paper, but it's more like a floral design. And so even though it's kind of a busy design on a busy design, it just kind of balances everything, because we're back to having that white from the background of the page that this is going to be adhered to. So and I love the little cute scalloped edge on that. And so again, you could, leave that at the bottom if you wanted to. I do have it up on a little bit away from the bottom, and then I'm going to just glue down that sentiment and then glue down my pocket. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but whenever I'm gluing down pockets in particular, I prefer to use a liquid adhesive for that, because liquid adhesive will dry completely. If you use like a tape runner or double-sided adhesive, you run the risk of over time, as you're putting stuff in and out of the pockets, your like tag or whatever will kind of get hung up on that adhesive sometimes. And so I always just like to use a liquid adhesive. It also gives me a split second to kind of move it around if I need to. And then I really love this large, what I'm assuming is supposed to be a journaling card, but I think it's hilarious. And so this particular one, I knew that I wanted kind of right on that front page. And then I decided, since I was putting it there and I was gluing it down, I might as well make it into a pocket. So I just think that it's funny because it says coffee is a cup of hope in a world full of chaos and Mondays. And so I made just the slightest little thumb notch at the top of that. I rounded the corners of all of it just to kind of neaten it up. And I'm going to add a little sticker down here in the bottom right hand corner. And then it'll just have like a tall tag or something in it when we get to the filling the pockets portion of these start to finish videos. But I figured since I was gluing it down anyway, I might as well make a pocket out of it. And it just adds one more place to have some journaling or some memory keeping or, whatever you want to put in there. So, and I did add one little tiny sticker up in the top left-hand corner of that so that I would have just a little bit of balance with that sticker down in the bottom right-hand corner. And then because I have one of these large, cut aparts in the front, I want to put one in the back part of the signature. And for some reason I was flipping through, I just kind of set this on here on this pink page, and I really love how this looked. So I'm going to make this one into a really large belly band. I did trim it down some just to make it easier, and so I will create a really large journaling card that will slide back behind here. So I did trim it down. I inked it up on the edges, and I'm going to just glue the very top and the very bottom section of this, and then I can slide things in from either side really, and it'll just work for a belly band. And like I said, will hold a pretty large journaling card if I do it that way, or multiple tags, or all, however we decide to fill it. And then I had this idea that I wanted to create a little wraparound pocket situation. So I pulled out one of these other papers. These are not the Carta Bella papers, but I just took one and I folded it in half. I'm going to use my bone folder to get a really good crease on this because this paper is pretty thick. And I'm going to put it on the edge like a little wraparound pocket, so both sides of this will have this pocket. And because the Carta Bella paper is so thick, it's, you know, the cardstock is such heavy weight, it will hold up to having like a dual pocket like this. And so I'm just trimming this down, and so it was 3 inches. I think I did it to like 2 1/4, and then you'll see here in just 1 second I'm going to trim it down even more. I just felt like that was still just a little bit too much, and I like the opposing patterns to here. And then whenever I make the pocket, or I mean, excuse me, whenever I make the journaling card or the tag that's going to go in here, it will kind of tie everything together. So I just used my circle punch to do the thumb notch, and I did that while it was folded, so it would be in the exact same place on both sides. And then I'm going to ink up both sides of this, and then I will glue this down. Basically, I'm just doing the top and bottom edge and then all along the fold, and then that will hold this pocket, this kind of wraparound pocket. And then I'll probably do another wraparound type of situation in the back part of the signature at some point. But you can kind of see how this is going to look here. And I did not even feel the need to decorate this pocket just because there's so much kind of going on already. I might on this side just because the pattern paper is just that green plaid instead of, or the green check instead of the really busy pattern, but I haven't quite decided that. So we will maybe come back to that. But at this point, I'm just going to leave this like it is. I'm just going to do a quick flip through of all of the pockets that we created today. Let me know if you like this slower style, or if you want to just kind of see where I'm just kind of hammering out all of the pockets and all of those things, if you would like to see a part 3 of this. And if you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Again, all my links are going to be in the description. And until next time, bye.